Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We do apologize for the technical difficulties we've been having, but we want to welcome you to the tenant meeting. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. So this is our annual tenant meeting where we would like to share some information with you. We do have a couple of invited guests. We have Samir from Samir Tamir from EcoPest.
And Tanya, I can't pronounce her last name.
And Tanya Balducci from the from RMWB Emergency Services. So welcome to the meeting. So my name is Patricia Scamsbury. Unfortunately, I'm having some issues with the video. And once it starts running, you'll be able to see our group here. So with me today, I have Pauline Ireland, who is the Manager of Tenant Services, Janelle Humphreys, who is the Manager of Community Housing. I have Veronica Serino, who is the Acting Manager of Maintenance, and Lori F. Grave, the Executive Assistant. So welcome, everyone. In terms of our agenda today, we're going to make some changes. We are going to let our guests speak first and provide some information, and then we'll move into the other items of our agenda. So I'd like to welcome Tanya Balducci to give some information related to fire safety. Thank you, Tanya, for your presentation.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to set up my screen here so I can share my presentation. So I don't have a very long presentation. I just have 6 slides, some important topics regarding home fire safety. I have the chat box open, so if anyone does have any questions, put it in the chat box and I'll look at that after each slide, or if another question kind of comes up about fire safety that you want me to answer, feel free to just put that into that chat box. So just a little bit about me. My name is Tanya Balducci. I've been with the fire department for 11 years. I'm a fire inspector. Do a little bit of fire investigation, but I mostly just focus on fire inspections, and then do some public education here and there as well. So jumping into smoke alarms. Smoke alarms that are properly installed and maintained play a vital role in reducing fire deaths and injuries. If there is a fire in your home, smoke spreads fast and you need smoke alarms to give you time to get out. Ensure there is a smoke alarm outside of each sleeping area and on every level of your home. Test your smoke alarms each month by pressing the test button. If it doesn't alarm, replace it. Replace the batteries in your smoke alarms every year as well. Smoke alarms expire after 10 years. So most smoke alarms will have a manufacturer date stamped on the back or the side of the alarm, and they had to be replaced after 10 years from that manufacturer date. I'm not too sure what Wilful Housing does, if they maintain the smoke alarms or if the tenants do, but this is just general smoke alarm information.
Pardon me?
What's that?
Sorry, what was your question about Buffalo Housing and smoke alarms?
I'm not too sure who maintains them.
Oh, we maintain them, and we contract out that work, and so we get it inspected every year.
Perfect. Carbon monoxide, often called the invisible killer. Carbon monoxide is an invisible, odorless, colorless gas created when fuels such as gasoline, wood, coal, natural gas, and propane burn incompletely. Oh, someone can't hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, there's just a chat box there. So when fuels burn incompletely in the home, it could be a source of carbon monoxide. So that can come from heating or cooking equipment. Low levels of carbon monoxide poisoning can include flu-like symptoms such as headache, dizziness, and nausea. Different types of carbon monoxide alarms can be plugged into an outlet or mounted onto a ceiling or wall. It's recommended that you have carbon monoxide alarms on every level of your home and outside of each sleeping area. Reading the instructions for your carbon monoxide alarm is really important. Knowing how often to change the batteries and when to replace the alarm. Depending on the manufacturer, you have to replace a carbon monoxide alarm between 7 and 10 years. Be familiar with the sound of a carbon monoxide alarm. The low battery chirp will sound different than an alarm. And if your carbon monoxide alarm does detect carbon monoxide and goes into alarm, get outside and call 911. Cooking safety. Stay in the kitchen when you are frying, boiling, grilling, or broiling food. If you leave the kitchen for even a short period, turn off the stove.
Recording in progress.
Keep anything that can catch fire away from your stove, such as oven mitts, wooden utensils, and towels. If you are simmering, baking, or roasting food, check it regularly. Remain in the home while food is cooking and use a timer to remind you that you are cooking. If you are sleepy or have consumed alcohol, don't use the stove or stovetop. The fire department actually responds to a lot of fires where people start cooking and fall asleep. If you live in an apartment and you burn your food, do not open the hallway door. You could set off the building fire alarm, and this also could come back as a charge to you for the dispatch of the fire trucks. Open a window instead and let the smoke escape from a window. Never use water on a grease fire. Water and oil do not mix. Throwing water on hot burning oil can cause the fire to rapidly expand, which would cause everything just to splash everywhere. Escape planning. Create a home escape plan with everyone in your family. Draw out your home floor plan and identify every way out of each bedroom. If you live in an apartment, identify the location of the stairwells. Also, if you live in an apartment that has an elevator, always use a stairwell if there's a fire or a fire alarm. Stairwells in apartments are built to keep smoke and fire out. Never prop open your stairwell doors. And if you notice that doors are propped open or do not latch closed, tell the building manager. Choose a meeting place a safe distance away from your home where everyone can meet after they have escaped. If you live in an apartment, there may already be a designated muster point for your building. Having a designated meeting place or a muster point will help to know who may be trapped inside the building, and it will also help keep people far enough away so that there's room for incoming fire trucks. Once you have left the building, never go back inside. Barbecues and meat smokers. Barbecues, if permitted by Wood Buffalo Housing, may be allowed on balconies of apartments or townhomes as long as they meet certain requirements, such as being 3 feet away from the building or anything combustible. They have to be fueled by either propane or natural gas. Solid fuel barbecues are not permitted on balconies. So any barbecue or meat smoker that uses charcoal, wood pellets, or wood chips are not permitted on a balcony. Keep your barbecue clean by removing grease and fat buildup on the grills and the trays located below the grill. Follow manufacturer's instructions for maintenance requirements, such as replacing propane tanks. Fire pit safety. Again, if permitted, I guess in the townhomes, they can be allowed if they meet certain requirements. Permanent fire pits require a permit from the fire prevention branch prior to use. Portable fire pits do not require a permit, but still need to follow manufacturer guidelines for all setback requirements. Never burn combustible waste, brush, or garden debris. Always have a means of extinguishment at all times. This can be a garden hose or a fire extinguisher. Don't have a fire if wind conditions exceed 15 kilometers or greater. that's it. I just had a couple key points. I didn't see any questions come up, but I can just sit here for a second if anyone came up with any questions through that presentation. No questions? Oh. So Brenda's asking if you have carbon monoxide alarms in your units.
Carbon monoxide in our townhouses for the furnace. They have their own furnaces because the buildings is the heat comes from the boiler with the water, so we don't need carbon monoxide in the buildings.
Did everyone hear that?
I couldn't hear it.
I'll speak louder, Veronica.
We only have carbon monoxide in our townhouses where the furnace is. Because most of our buildings are by boiler, like water supplies the heat. So we don't need carbon monoxide in it.
Do we have any more questions for Tanya at this time? Okay, we don't have any more questions. Tanya, thank you very much for taking the time to raise some very important issues with regards to fire safety in our homes. And we look forward to working with you as we move forward with our usual building inspections and fire suppression system inspections. So thank you very much.
And if any questions do come up, I'd say just ask one of the Wood Buffalo Housing staff members. Most of them have my email address, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that may come up.
Thank you. Samir. So Samir Thawar is here from EcoPest. He is, their organization, EcoPest, is responsible for the pest control program at our housing, and he is coming here to do a presentation on how to manage pest control issues and some training as to what you do see in your home, if you do see anything, and what you can do. So Samir, thank you very much for coming again this year, because you did a presentation last year, which was actually very well received, and we are thankful that you're here again. So please go ahead, Samir.
Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to speak to you guys. I just want to confirm you can hear me and you can see my screen.
Yes, we can do both.
And you can see me as well.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So thank you everyone and good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you, and thank you for having the confidence in EcoPest to take care of your pest control needs. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. Just going to tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then the intent of today is to just go over some of the key pests that we encounter in the Wood Buffalo housing sites, and then what people that are on this call can do, or residents or whoever else their family can do to help us with pest mitigation in our buildings. So EcoPest is one of the largest pest control businesses in Western Canada. We have over 50 staff members, and we have about 3 staff members in the Wood Buffalo area, and more specifically in the Fort McMurray area. Our overall goal is to always come up with kind of innovative, eco-friendly type methodologies to make sure that we're giving you best value for pest control. It's not always about coming out and just doing a spray. It's not always about just coming in and saying, well, you're not prepared, or we have to do something like that. It's all about coming together and finding ways to collectively work together in an integrated way. We essentially service residential customers, commercial customers, which includes warehouses, industrial plants, as well as industrial clients. If I were to specifically speak to kind of the Fort McMurray area, we look after a bunch of houses in the area. We do a lot of commercial spaces. So, you know, up in the Fort McKay area, or also in the town, we do a lot of the warehouse spaces like finning and stuff like that. And then we look after the industrial clients, where we do a lot of oil sands sites, just a little bit north there, of Suncor, Syncrude, CNRL, and some of those sites. So we're very familiar with kind of the pest control world. In terms of kind of the services we offer, we do canine inspections. In the Fort McMurray area, we do not have this service offered every time. We do not have dogs present there, but essentially what it is basically dogs are trained to detect bed bugs. And so we have 3 dogs that travel the province, and we're able to do some inspections to detect bed bugs. We do bed bug treatments, we do rodent control. So rodent control is stuff like mice, squirrels, other types of rodents. We do insect control, which includes bed bugs, cockroaches, pharaoh ants, other stuff like that. We also do pigeon control. So in some of your sites, there's been a few pigeon issues, and then we take care of pigeons as well. That includes where we have programs for control, which is trapping. We have something called Avitrol, which is a stressing agent for birds. And then we do other projects where we can put up some netting to keep them away from the balconies or other areas, spiking and stuff like that. Hantavirus cleanup is a service we offer. This is basically a virus associated with rodent droppings. So we try and help you clean that up. We do pigeon cleanup as well. We also do tree spraying. We don't do that very commonly in the Fort McMurray area, but essentially what it is trees also have pests. So you might see some trees curling up and a few other things because of pests. And so we take care of that. And we also have an odor control division. So if there's anything today I want you to take away is this particular chart that I have on the screen. We focus on something called integrated pest management. And this particular methodology consists of kind of 3 key areas. First one is education and training. The second is kind of the elimination and reduction of the pests, and then having control measures. If we were to focus on education and training, it's really about having communications and educating on pest control methods, educating on the insects that we're dealing with for management. So, as you can see on this call, you got people, management from Wood Buffalo Housing, contractors. We speak to various contractors, such as cleaning contractors and others. We also speak to potentially managers, custodians of the spaces, and essentially you as tenants that are part of this call. And the reason we do that is because you are a big part of our program. If you understand pest control, we will be more successful. And then there's a whole piece of elimination and reduction, which is including, taking away food sources, taking away harborages. So, throwing away recycling boxes, recycling your bottles, taking away pest access. So how do you then seal some holes or gaps behind cabinets and stuff like that? And then finally is the control measures, which, primarily is what we come in for, is making sure we use non-chemical treatment methods, such as those glue boards that potentially you may have seen you use. We use steam, we use other things to control, and then we use chemicals, which is the baits, the spray chemicals that we use. And then there's a whole piece around prevention and how do we kind of look at it. And that's why sometimes you may be wondering, well, why does EcoPest come into my unit and I have no pest issues? Well, that's a preventative measure. It's to make sure that we're staying on top of any pest issues. Really, you don't have an issue, so that's great. But we don't want anything. So we want to make sure that we're checking as many units as possible on a very consistent basis. And why is this important? First of all, you get better pest control. Secondly, you get a safer and healthier workplace or a home. We find that people that are following this protocol and management companies such as Wood Buffalo that follow this protocol, we're able to provide better, healthier, safer, and pest-free buildings. And I can tell you right now that we are trending in the right direction. Also safer for the environment because we're not using as much chemical. It also in the long term leads to lower cost and just better public and occupant relationships between management, EcoPest, and as well as your things. So I do want to touch with you on some key level pests, just so you guys know. We deal with primarily 4 major pests, at Wood Buffalo Housing, as well as, I would say generally. The first one is bed bugs. So I hope most of you are aware of what bed bugs are, and if not, these are actually essentially our blood-sucking bugs. And people ask me, well, we never had bed bugs. Yes, you have had bed bugs for generations and generations. They've been around. Is that what had happened is in the late 40s to early 70s, there was a chemical called DDT that was being used in the world that pretty much killed a lot of insects, not just bed bugs. And that chemical is now banned. And all of a sudden you'll see a resurgence of cockroaches, a resurgence of bed bugs. And overall, that's kind of some of the challenges we're running into, is because we do not have enough arsenal of chemicals in the space here in Canada and around the world to specifically deal with household pests such as bed bugs. And so we've had to come up with creative ways to deal with it. So first thing, like I said, we do a lot of inspection, visual and canine. So we have dogs come by. We treat those affected units using steam, use of pesticides. We use heat treatments at times. So we have had to be creative and deal with these bugs. The key for bed bugs is we need to prepare. Bed bugs hide in cracks and crevices, and so it's very important that we're able to get to them and able to prepare well. The next one is mice. This is probably the most common one that we see out there. Again, mice are mice. We actually, as human beings, are living in their territory. Most people say, well, we have mice. Well, actually more like they should be saying we have human beings. And that's just how it goes. So the truth of the matter is mice are out there. They're going to be out there. And in the Fort McMurray area, we've got lots of mice. They're out there. And so what do we do for that? Essentially, the key thing is to making sure that, first of all, they don't get access to get inside of the buildings. I would tell you one thing is that mice are much happier outside than they are inside. There's lots more in the winter and cold weather that we see there. They're much more safer outside. But in any case, if they make their way in, you will notice that we probably at most buildings have these what we call rodent bait stations on the outside. They're black in color. They have some bait in it. That's what keeps the mice out. And then if they're inside, you would find there's some equipment on the inside. The key with mice is making sure that we identify and report. Don't just say, well, I have a mouse and it's okay. Mice can multiply very, very quickly. So we want to make sure that we have taken care of that, as well as we have kind of sealed a lot of our entry points, which is how mice get into the building. I find in a lot of townhouses and a lot of balconies that are ground level, people have a smoke outside at night in the evenings, or even during the daytime. I highly recommend that as you're having a smoke outside or doing something on your balcony, make sure you close your mesh door, patios or whatever, so that mice cannot make their way inside. Cockroaches, this is probably the #1 pest we're dealing with in Fort McMurray, as well as in many areas in the country. The key with cockroaches is we have to significantly inspect. They hide in dark spots, in cracks and crevices, and in places where it's not very easy to see. They're also a pest that breeds at a very fast level and very frequently. Every cycle of breeding has about 40 or so cockroaches. So it's very important that if you see a cockroach that you report it, because something that is not reported can lead to a large cockroach infestation. So inspection is key. We got to make sure we treat the units properly. And we also need to make sure that residents stay clean, because cockroaches need water, food, and warmth. We can't control the warmth in our units. We can't control a lot of water because they don't need a lot, but we can control food. And that requires us to have a good sanitary place, a little bit of a clean space. Because if their sanitation and cleaning is not there, then it's almost like, we're opening a buffet table for them. We're saying, well, here, you can have this, you can have this. So why would they go for the bait that we put out there, right? So we need to kind of start thinking that way. And cycles of treatment vary on different things you have, right? And finally, we have some units at Wood Buffalo Housing that have experienced fair ants. Fair ants are not native to North America. They actually came from Africa at some point. They love high humidity and high temperature. And so the key here is the reason they're so difficult to deal with in apartment complexes is because they have both of those. Our apartments stay at a very high temperature. The humidity is high as well. And so they're able to breed very quickly. And the other thing with pharaoh ants is this biological thing where what we call budding. So they're able to essentially form multiple nests with multiple queens. So it's very important to keep in mind. And please, if you ever encounter a pharaoh ant, do not treat yourself. Do not spray for cockroaches or feral ants. Please report it, whether you're at Wood Buffalo or not. Even if it's your personal home, there's a personal advice I'm giving you. Do not self-treat for cockroaches or feral ants. They are quite difficult pests to deal with. Call the professionals, because you will not likely deal with the feral ant problem by yourself. So what is your role? First of all, make sure you familiarize yourself with the pests: bed bugs, cockroaches, mice, feral ants. If you can't, go to ecopest.ca. Go Google something. Take a photo of the picture, a photo of whatever you have, send it to your management. Take a photo, use Google Lens. There's something called Google Lens. You know, a lot of people don't know about this. You can take a photo of something on Google, it'll go online and actually see if you can find something similar to that, what you've taken a photo of. So you could probably try with me right now. Take a screenshot of your screen and take my photo and put it on Google, and it'll tell you how good a person I am, maybe how bad I am. But the key is that use that, make sure you identify the pest. Report your issues to management. They are confidential, they are discreet. Call them in so that they will appropriately deal with it, and call EcoPest if required. I know, and I've worked with Wood Buffalo for a number of years. One thing I haven't realized about this organization is they will support you with any questions, and make sure that you have a clean and healthy space to live. That's one thing I have noticed, and I work with a lot of agencies, and I know that's a commitment that I've constantly seen from Wood Buffalo Housing. And finally, if there's any questions, ecopest.ca. Ecopest.ca, we have a website. There's a lot of information on there. You can go and check. You can even go on our website. There's a chat option. There's 24/7. Usually there's somebody there. You can ask a question. You can upload a picture. So use those resources. They are there for your need. Wood Buffalo Housing pays us for that reason as well, right? To be there to offer advice in so many different ways. So with that, the last few things I want to just make sure to prevent pest issues, make sure you have strategies to keep pests away. If there are holes in your unit, leaky taps, report them. Keep your places as clean as possible. Remove food sources. Keep your dishes clean. Throw your garbage regularly. Keep your places clean. Water sources, make sure that you report those leaky taps, as I said. Declutter your surroundings. You don't need something, chuck it away. Don't clutter so many newspapers, books, CDs, all that kind of stuff adds up. So with that, I'm just going to end my presentation, and I thank you for your time, and I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Samir. We'll just wait a little bit to see if anybody has any questions. Someone has made a comment that it was very informative, and we thank you. Thank you very much, Sophia. So it doesn't seem as though we have any questions at this time. I'm sure if something comes up, we will send it off to you, Samir. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all the help you've helped us with regards to pest control. And hopefully we don't see you too often, but at least once a year, every unit gets visited.
Yeah, for sure. I see there's a couple of questions here.
We
One
do
is
have,
that
yeah, sorry.
It says, I was told vinegar on your floor keeps bed bugs away. I really can't comment on that. Look, there's a lot of home remedies out there. People talk about a lot of that. I think the key to remember around home remedies, yes, there is ways to help with that. But once you do have bed bugs, vinegar does nothing to those bed bugs, right? So yeah, those can be home remedies and preventative measures, but the key is to make sure that if you do have it, you can use your home remedies, but please report it, because vinegar will not treat your bed bug issue, right? But report it, but with your vinegar and our treatment, perhaps we can get better results. Okay, so that's just something I'm gonna comment on.
The next question is, why are you coming on Monday, November the 1st? And I'm assuming it's part of our preventative measures program, because all of our units are inspected on an annual basis. So every year you will see them come to the unit to inspect. That will ensure that we're able to manage any pest issues that we have in our buildings. Because yourself, you may be willing to report, but there may be others who don't. So part of our program is to inspect every unit on an annual basis. Samir, you want to add anything to that?
No, thank you for answering that question.
Okay, do we have any further questions? No more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you for your time. And thank
Thank
you to your team as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Okay. So next on our agenda is a rent cafe demo. So I am going to take control of the screen and share the screen. I'm just going to use the internet here. We're going to go into the website. So what we're going to be demoing is the Rent Cafe for those who have not been able or who have not registered at this point in time. So to get into, can everyone see the website wbhousing.ca? Take that as a yes. Great. Okay, so once you go on the website wbhousing.ca, if you're given that you're a tenant, you can click on your tenant portal, and that will provide you access to information related to your tenancy. So you can either make a payment, complete a maintenance request, or get technical support. So first, before when you first move in, you can register. So you click here to register. So you fill in your first and last name, and it has to be exactly the same as what we have in our system. The registration code is your unique T code associated with your registration. And then you put in your email address that you had given us once you first applied. You cannot use a different email address. If you plan to use a different email address, you will actually have to inform us. Once all that information is completed, you accept the terms and conditions, and then you click on register. You will then get an email from your email address that will come onto your email address for you to verify yourself. And then once that is done, you can then sign into the system and have access to some information related to your own tenancy. So I'm going to sign in because I had already collected, put in some information previously. And then you sign in. Once you sign in, you will have three options. You can make a payment, you can enter a maintenance request, or you can contact us. As part of this first page, you will see a bulletin board, and in here is information that we supply to all tenants. So for example, we had posted the information about the tenant meeting, as well as our additional information about the tenant meeting, as well as anything that we have, sort of like tenant entrepreneurs, something about our Freezy Day. So we do post information for our tenants so they can continue to be involved. To make a payment, you click on Make Payments. And the first thing you have to do in order to make a payment is you have to set up an account. So you can pay by credit card, or you can pay through your bank account. So you just click on Add Bank Account Information. You have to put in the name of the account, the bank transit number, your bank account number, or you can add a credit card. So I've currently added a credit card on the system so that I can make a payment. So please ask any questions. If I'm going too fast, if you're not understanding. Or, so once you set that up, you can then go here and make a payment. So since I had already set up my credit card, I'm going to pay by credit card. And I want to make a one-time payment, which is one of the issues everybody has been having, is making one-time payments. And there currently isn't a service charge for paying by credit card. Thank you for that question. Doesn't mean it won't change in the future, but right now there isn't a service charge. To make a one-time payment, you do not enter information here, an extra payment amount as your one-time payment. What you need to do is apply that payment to something. So say this, in this scenario, this person, myself, I owe $2,150, but I am just going to make a payment right now of only $500. So you have to apply that payment to a certain amount that is currently unpaid. So the rent is $1,050 for November. I am going to, I'm going to pay $500 towards the rent, and I'm going to put in $500, and I will select the credit card.
No, okay. Oh.
These out again, sorry. That refreshed. I'm gonna put $500. Actually, put $1. I'm going to select the credit card I'm going to use, and I'm going to select next. And then I'll ask you to read the terms and conditions. And if there is a charge, it will ask you to accept that charge. And then you submit the payment. And then the payment will immediately be applied to your rental payment. Yes, I said no service charge for a credit card at this moment. Okay, so that's how you make a payment. Another option is to, when you set up your payments, you can set up an auto pay, right, through one of your accounts. So I can set up auto pay to my credit card. And I'm going to say, okay, every month, I'm going to select the Visa at the start of, say, November. And every month, and say my lease ends November, at the end of October, 2022. I'm going to pay on the first of every month when rent is due, and I'm going to pay my full rental amount of $1,200. And then you hit next. And what it does on the first of every month, that payment will be applied to your account. Okay, so you don't have to go back in and continue to make payments. It automatically knows that you're making those payments every month. Any questions about making payments? No? Okay, so then we're going to go into submitting a maintenance request. So you can click here, submit maintenance request, or here. So just click on maintenance. And let's say I need, my fridge is broken. So I'm saying it's an urgent request. It's an appliance issue. And it's my fridge. And full description, fridge is no longer working. Need a new one. Okay. Permission to enter. This is very important to complete because that tells us if we're allowed to come into your home when you're not there. So I'm going to say yes because it's urgent. You can put access instructions. You can say, you know, I have a pet, but it is kenneled. And then you can choose a file to show a picture of it, and then you will submit the maintenance request. So then it says your maintenance request has been submitted successfully. Okay, and then here you will see all of your maintenance requests that you currently have. Okay, so right now I had one completed. I had a broken fridge before. I have another broken fridge, and it shows right now that the status is web. That means it came in through the web. So what I'm going to open up something else that you're not going to necessarily see. So in our system, when we go into our system, we can go in and deal with that work order. So what happens is, first of all, we do get an email, and a maintenance responds to every work order that comes in to the system. So when the work order, so we're going to go take a look at this particular work order for today. So we know it was a web work order. And we see the fridge is no longer working. So when we go in the system and we change it, and this is a piece that you're not going to have access to. So once you see its call, under call status, it has been assigned. So when you take a look back at your list of work orders, and I'm just going to refresh here. You see it automatically, the status changed to call. When the work order is completed, we go in and we complete the work order. So the work is completed. And then we put in a description, bridge replaced. And we save this. On your side, and I will refresh again. You will see here that the work order was completed today, and we replaced the fridge. So through this section, you're able to see, and if we haven't replaced the fridge, or we're waiting for it to come in, you will see the updates in the maintenance notes column to see where it's at in terms of this work order. Okay. And then the other option in this system is contact us. So you can send an email. You say, you know, need a key, and send that email over. And we receive that email in the system through our info@WB Housing for us to manage and for us to get back to you and deal with any issue that you've submitted. So contact us goes to our general email box, info@wbhousing.ca, and then we manage any questions that come through or any actions that we have to deal with. So that is the Rent Cafe system. And I don't know if everybody's already signed up for it, but it does have a lot of information. It's another way of inputting maintenance requests without having to call, as well as making payments and seeing what payments you have made in the past, and as well as your history. Okay, do we have any questions at this time? No? Oh, we do have one. Yes, if you do have rent coming out of your bank account, credit cards can only be used through Rent Cafe. So you can change it to Rent Cafe. Sorry, you can change it through Rent Cafe for credit card. So you'll actually have to register in Rent Cafe to be able to use your credit card, and you can have your rent come out from your credit card. Hopefully that answers your question. Do we have to? You don't have to cancel your banking information, but if you're not going to use it, you probably shouldn't have it stored anymore. That would just be, you know, some advice, not necessarily a requirement, but for me, if I'm not using my banking information for something, I do just remove it. You're most welcome. And I see Sophia is saying that this portal is very good and convenient to use, and she pays through this. Thank you, Sophia. Do you have any other questions about Rent Cafe? Okay. So then we are going, oh, will you advise us before implementing a service charge for credit cards? Yes, we will advise you before doing that. Do we have any further questions? Your opportunity. It is, I truly believe it is a good system that allows you to have information about your account, as well as to be able to skip the line and put in your maintenance requests and be able to communicate with the organization without having to call. Okay, if there's no further questions, thank you very much. Now I'm going to pass it over to Janelle Humphreys. She's going to come up here and she will be talking about our COVID-19 preventative measures. Janelle?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? So due to the current COVID restrictions in place, Blue Buffalo Housing does have its own COVID protocols in place at our office and in our buildings as well. So at our office, we are open daily, Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4 p.m. Our office doors are closed at the moment, but there is a doorbell outside. So if you do want to attend the office, we do have someone who is inside here to help you, whether that be rent payments, whatever the case may be. We do ask that if you are attending the office that you do wear a mask, as our staff also does wear a mask as well. We do ask that one household at a time be in the office at one time. So if you are here while others are inside the office, we do ask you to wait patiently outside in the hallway until it's your turn. And all hallways, common areas, and the office spaces are sanitized twice daily. So in our buildings, we do have regular housekeeping that does take place, and that's twice weekly. And the other 5 days, all common areas and touch points are sanitized for your safety. During viewings for any new clients or applicants that have applied for housing, we do provide viewings still. We do ask that a mask be worn at that time, and we do allow those viewings to happen, and they are free to view the unit on their own. Our staff does stay outside at that time. Our maintenance staff, while entering units, or if we have any inspections to be completed or any contractors entering units, they are required to wear masks at that time for your safety and ours as well. And right now with maintenance, we are focusing on the emergent work orders in place. So if there is anything that is outstanding, it is because of that. But if you do have any further questions regarding any outstanding work orders that you may have, you can certainly touch base with us regarding that. I don't think is there anything else that I've missed here at this time. So if you do have any questions about our COVID protocols, you can certainly feel free to ask and answer your questions.
Thank you, Janelle. Good information. So next on our agenda, since we don't have any questions about our COVID protocols, is I do have our tenants. Okay, we do have a question. Are tenants required to wear a mask in the hallways? No, tenants are not required to wear a mask in the hallways, but it is a good practice. So we are following Alberta Health Services guidelines and provincial government guidelines, and that is not a requirement in the hallways. Are there any other questions? Okay. I'm going to pass it off to Pauline Ireland, our manager of tenant services, and she is going to speak about the tenant referral program.
Good evening, everyone. I know this information has been shared, via our newsletter and on Rent Cafe, but I thought it's a good opportunity to remind our tenants that this program is still being offered, and to any new residents that we have. So if you are a tenant with us and you are in good standing, meaning that your rent is up to date, and you refer a friend or family member, and they in turn sign a 12-month lease with us, you will earn a half month's rent credit towards your rent. So this can be done up to 12 referrals a year. So if you refer 12 people, well, you're going to receive up to 6 months of free rent. So what a great incentive. It's not a referral program, but just wanted to, and I should say that in order, if you do indeed refer a friend or family member and they fill out their application, there is a spot on that application that asks who referred you to Wood Buffalo Housing. So, the tenant can contact us, or we will become aware of that by the prospective tenant that is looking to move in. Also, we have a program for our seniors. So any senior over 65, we offer a 10% discount once they sign a lease to go into one of our affordable housing properties. So any questions regarding that?
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you for that information and sharing it with the group. So now I'm going to ask Veronica Serino, who's the current acting manager of maintenance. Our manager of maintenance, if you don't know who it is, I'm just gonna let you know it's Melanie Matthews-Ryan. She's away at the moment. But Veronica will be here to talk to you about getting units ready for winter and the holidays. Veronica?
Good evening, everyone. Here are just some tips for like a winter maintenance, we call it, for preparation for this coming season. So for heat, so we just recommended that this is a time for us to make sure all the windows or doors are sealing properly, and the doors have to have the weather strip not broken, or it should be intact. For the townhouses, we are just suggesting that we change our filter regularly. It's recommended to change it every month, and this will be a good practice to have a good heat distribution into the home. And we also are recommending that after showering or using a bath, that we leave the fan an extended time or for a longer period of time. And this will help the moisture out of the unit. And so it prevents having the leak. What you see leak where the ceiling fan is, it will prevent it from happening. So if you're gonna, during winter times, you will always have noticed that there will be some ice buildup on your windows. And this is because of too much humidity inside the unit. So to prevent this from happening, make sure that we have turned on the range-hood fan while we're cooking. And also it's recommended that we do have some dehumidifier. This helps us the moisture level low inside the unit. And we also recommend that during winter time that we raise our blinds up to 6 inches. So it helps the heat distribution, so it's not stuck up into the window. For sandpiper building, for the units, we use baseboard heating that is run by water. Specifically that building C alone, it doesn't have glycol, so that's why we have that low temperature sensor. We only have 10 minutes time frame if we leave our doors and windows open, and that pipe will burst and will cause flood and damage to the unit. So we encourage everyone to please make sure that if you cannot avoid to open your door or window, to close it and close it tightly as soon as possible. We have been sending our notices that for building C, sandpiper, that for any damages caused by negligence of not closing a door and causing all the pipes to burst, it will be the tenant's responsibility. And that's all. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Veronica. That was quite informative. Does anybody have any questions about preparing their homes for the winter? I'm sure this is the usual process for everybody in Canada, especially Fort McMurray. So thank you very much, Veronica, for that. And then what I want to ask is for Lori F. Grave, my executive assistant, and she's going to talk about safety and, oh, we do have a question. What happens when the latch on your window is broken and you can't close your window? You need to report this to maintenance and we will be there because that is an emergency issue and we will be there to fix it. So please ensure that you've submitted your maintenance request and we will get that done. But somebody's taking a note with your name so that we can find what unit it is and we'll make sure that someone goes there tomorrow. Right, Veronica? Yes. Do we have any other questions? No, so I'm going to ask Lori F. Grave to speak about safety and security at our properties.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm very loud, so I'm sure you might have to turn your computers down. But Wibble Housing received crime-free designation in 2019. And when you sign your lease agreement, there was a Schedule D that the head of household would have to have signed. The addendum is to be signed each year when you renew your lease agreements. I don't know if I can show a picture, maybe. Is that here, Patricia? Can you help me? Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah. I'm sure you'll be able to see that page on our Rent Cafe. I'll get our communication manager to put it on there so that everyone can log on and see that at any time. But in order for us as a landlord to have a full understanding of the crime-free designation, our manager, tenant relations, Pauline Ireland, just attended the CEPTED, which is Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It was a conference, and she is now certified. For us as a landlord, we're now more aware of the steps and how the program works within our community of Fort McMurray, and we continue to maintain our designation. This will assist our staff and tenants to ensure that our properties are safe and allow our tenants to feel safer in their homes. Wood Buffalo Housing does have a great relationship with the RCMP in Fort McMurray. They patrol the buildings at a time of an incident when you're making a call about something that you may feel uncomfortable with, or a situation that just may occur that you're not fully understanding, or you want to feel more safe, right? You can also call the office the next day just to make us, the landlord, aware as to what had happened. But you should call the complaint line to the RCMP. It's 780-788-4040. And again, we'll make sure that's posted on our bulletin board through Rent Cafe. When you do call into the office, if you know of a timeline of that incident that could have occurred, so if it happened at 1 o'clock in the morning and you were interrupted out of your sleep and it was there for like 20 minutes or an hour, just make sure that you're giving a timeline, because when we go onto our camera system, we can put that timeline in and be able to find out the incident that you're referring to and be able to assist in solving it. The RCMP dispatch is operational, and the police station is available to all the residents in Fort McMurray. Just make sure you're calling the complaint line and not 911, because 911, there's a lot of emergencies that would just delay their time getting there. But yeah, did anyone have any questions? That's crime-free in a nutshell, pretty much.
Thank you, Lori, for sharing that information. So at this time, everyone has shared on behalf of Wood Buffalo Housing, and there has been great questions that came through. So thank you for being engaged. But this is an opportunity to ask any other questions that is a burning question for you that you haven't had an opportunity to ask, or it's not a topic that we dealt with. So this is our Q&A section. So please be free to ask any questions, as long as they're not personal to your situation, because due to privacy reasons, we won't be able to respond. But any other questions, we will be open to them. So we've got here, in winter, sometimes the door lock gets stuck and it's too hard to open it. Is it possible Wood Buffalo can put keyless door locks, please? So that's something that we can take into consideration. We won't be able to provide an answer on that today, but we will look at that as a possibility, but I'm not making any promises at this time. Okay, do we have any other questions or any comments? And even if it's a comment in terms of something that we could do better as an organization, we are open to those comments as well. Some feedback is always good to help us better provide service to you. All right, it doesn't seem as though we have any more comments or any more questions. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully the information was informative and helpful to you. Chrissy has taken all the names and we will be drawing for the prize and we will be notifying. So Chrissy, correct me, we will be notifying them tomorrow.
Yes, we'll notify everyone tomorrow.
Yes, we'll be drawing for the prizes on this, not on the Zoom, but the people that attended the Zoom will be the only ones that will be in the draw. So your odds are great. But you will be contacted. So I do see a comment from someone with regards to parking.
There's also a quick question about how many people on the Zoom. Throughout the night, there are 8 people.
Okay, so there's some questions, there's some comments here. So let's see if we can break this down. So Veronica, the door panel sitting outside has been there for over 4 weeks. We will make sure that gets removed tomorrow. Not sure what the door panel is, but we'll look into that tomorrow. Plastic on the air vent outside. So we'll not exactly sure what location, see it 204C, but we'll look at that tomorrow as well. And then with regards to visitor parking, we have been trying to manage that. Pauline, want to speak about?
Yes, it's been an ongoing, concern. And I know there were notices delivered last week. I was out of the office last week, so I don't know if it's gotten any better. But any feedback that you can provide since those notices were delivered would be helpful here today.
And we can follow up with you, Lori. Mm-hmm. So as Pauline said, we are continuing to manage this issue. And as a first step, we have been giving out notices. This is not the first time. And hopefully, we'll be able to get this better under control over the next few weeks. But thank you for your comments and your observations. Okay, there's no further comments or questions. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to attend this meeting today. And good luck to everybody who attended in terms of being successful with the draw. Have a good night, everyone. Yes, someone will call or message you. Someone will call you tomorrow, Lori. Pauline will reach out to you. Okay, have a good night, everyone. Take care. Thank you.